cat, so we compromised and got a cat. On today's show, we're going to talk about why compromise is so important. We're going to talk about real and practical ways that you can find compromise in your relationship so that you can keep moving forward with success. It's all coming up right now.
Real life. Real talk. Real relationships. Faith-based tips, tricks, and challenges to improve your marriage and change your life. It's the Love Lessons Podcast with your hosts, Christian counselors and marriage experts, Dr. Zach and Blair Gammon.
Hey there, welcome to the show. We are glad you are here with us. I want to talk about something important.
Okay.
There is this new trend going on.
Yes.
And I've had it.
Up to where?
Up to my eyeballs,
Okay.
lady.
What is it?
If you've been on TikTok, you've seen this nonsense about girl math.
Girl math.
Tell me about, why don't you give us, this is no longer love lessons, this is girl math lessons. Make it make sense. Tell us what girl math is, Blair. So
Well, you could go on social media and find better videos to explain it. But girl math is if I buy something for $30 from Target, but then I return it, then I've got $30 free to use. It's like whatever I buy is free after that.
Wrong.
So, if I load money onto my Starbucks app, then when I go and actually use it, those drinks are free because I already paid for it. Or if we're going on vacation and I rent a condo for a week, that's not part of my vacation budget when I get to vacation because I already paid for it. It's like that, my condo stay is free.
This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
But all girls, I've not talked to one that we've talked about this that does not agree.
Yeah, because it's finally some public justification of your poor behavior.
It's a thought that we're like, oh, okay, so this is like, I could get this for free or do this, or I'm just like rerouting money.
Yeah, exactly. That's called money laundering.
Not laundering any money. I gotta have money to launder it.
Yeah, you don't have any because you keep using this stupid girl math.
Girl.
You know what? They blame boomers for crashing the housing market, but flipping white women are single-handedly destroying this nation's economy.
You know, Hobby Lobby and Kirkland's are doing great, but everybody else.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, isn't it?
Girl math.
This makes as much sense as toilet paper math.
Why does it upset you so much?
Because it's wasting money.
Wait.
It's not free money. This is money that at some point has to come out of our checking account.
Can we go back to toilet paper math?
Toilet paper math.
What is that?
You know when you're walking through the grocery store and you're in the toilet paper? I feel very strongly about this, too. I don't really like math. This should just be math lessons.
Is that the problem?
Yes,
it's math
that's it.
in general?
No, it's the stupidity behind both girl math and toilet paper math.
Okay.
You know when you're walking through the aisle in the grocery store and you see all the toilet paper and it's like 14 jumbo rolls equal like 87 regular rolls.
Yes.
And that's one brand, but then another brand is like 12 rolls here equals 38 rolls there.
Yeah.
And then the math ain't mathin'.
The math ain't. Who actually did all of the work to like figure out what was a roll?
How many times do they have testers that are just wiping their butts constantly? Like, how much toilet paper? Like, man, work was a real pain in the butt today, babe. It was.
How much wood would a woodchuck?
And I've never gotten a solid answer to this toilet paper math, but I think that it's stupid, just like girl math.
I think that toilet paper companies are doing well. And most of the women on TikTok agree with girl math. And so I think it's a you problem. I don't think it's a math problem.
Well, when we can no longer afford our house or toilet paper because of your girl math problem, then we'll see whose problem it is.
That's valid.
Love Lessons is taking donations so we can keep our lights on because Blair won't stop going to Hobby Lobby and Target.
Hobby Lobby, that's different. But Target, if I have a gift card, it's free, even if that means I have a gift card because I returned an item.
No. If somebody gave you a gift card, then it's free for us. If you return something, it's not free.
It's free.
No, it's not.
It is. It is. I'm redirecting it. It's free. So then I buy it on sale. So if I return something, get $30 back, I get something on sale for 20% off, I have gotten a really great deal. It's almost like I had to buy that item because of how cheap it was with my discount and my gift card.
You know, I've been a therapist for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I've heard people justify some really poor behaviors. And this has to be the poorest. I mean, this is just piss poor justification.
Yeah, well, you have to call me out like that in front of everybody. But everybody else does it. All the other girls do it.
Okay.
Don't.
You gonna jump off the bridge too, sweetheart?
I probably would.
Yeah,
honestly.
you would. Yeah, you would.
People ask that question, and it's like,
Yeah.
if everybody else is doing it, I'm gonna be like, "What's down there that's so fun? Let's go."
I got backhanded one time as a kid for saying that.
Yeah.
My dad was like, "If everybody jumped off a bridge, would you?" And I was being honest. I wasn't being a smart aleck, and I was like, "Yeah, probably." He didn't think it was funny. I wasn't trying to be funny. It was true.
You sure would. You'd be like, "What's down there,
Right,
guys?
let's go, guys.
It looks fun. Come on." I would too. Girl math.
Do you want to hear a fun fact?
Do you have something? Does it have to do with math? With our math lessons for the day?
No.
Okay.
So it turns out, teasing your partner isn't just for fun. It's actually good for your relationship. I don't know about making your partner crazy, though. Still, research is still occurring. According to research conducted by the University of Kansas, couples who gently poke fun at each other tend to have longer, more satisfying relationships. I feel like you're holding something back here you want to say real bad. Teasing and humor can help couples navigate disagreements, express affection. I very much show you love by terrorizing you. And de-escalate tense situations. So those silly pet names and shared inside jokes are actually strengthening your bond. However, according to this, it says this isn't to say you should turn your relationship into a comedy roast. The key to successful teasing is ensuring that it's lighthearted, reciprocal, and respectful. If your jokes hurt your partner's feelings or belittle them, it can do more harm than good.
Yeah, we hang out here a lot.
Yeah.
But we're very good about not being harmful. They really are in good faith.
Yeah.
And not to pick fun at something that someone's sensitive about.
Yeah.
But
I love to aggravate you. It's one of my favorite things.
I think that it is your favorite part about being married.
Yeah. Aggravating you to no end. Like, and you can tell if, like, I've been out of town or we've been, like, apart for a few days and you come home, like, I'm aggravating the crap out of you.
It's like when I was in 5th grade and the boys would chase us around the playground.
Yeah.
It's the grown-up version of that. Except there's not boys and girls. There's me and you. And so I'm the only one you can take this aggravation out on.
You're welcome.
It's a special blessing.
Aw.
Yeah, so what are some of the things you do to aggravate me? Why don't you tell the people?
I love to tickle you.
Yes.
I really like to gaslight you. And
But we know what's happening, so it's not hurtful or harmful.
no, yeah, not in a bad way,
Yeah.
but like, if I'm trying to like show you where something is on your phone or something, I'll convince you that it's not there, it's in a different place, or and you're like so flustered, and you're like, no, I know it's right here, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Every now and then, I'll act like I can't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. And you're like irritated to no end.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, I'm kidding. I heard you just fine. Stuff like that.
You know, this started very early in our relationship.
Yes, it did.
So we did this thing early in our relationship where we would make up like false. They were lies. Let's just call it what they were.
Lies.
We
Lie
would
lessons.
Lie. Math and lies. We would make up things to try to convince the other person it was true. And so the best one, and we didn't know each other so well like we do now. We can't get it over on each other now.
No.
We are so good at like
All
reading.
trust is gone in this relationship.
Well, and we're so good at reading the other person that we're like, I know that you're BSing me right
Yeah.
now. But early on, we didn't. And so we would do this. And so I know the best one was whenever we were going through Bowling Green,
Kentucky.
You want to tell this one?
You go ahead.
And you were, was it you or me? I can't even remember. You did it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
did
said,
it.
well, I wonder why Bowling Green is named Bowling Green.
And I made up the stupidest thing.
On the spot.
Yeah, and you believed it.
I was naive. You said because the earliest settlers of Bowling Green were professional or good at bowling. They had a passion for bowling, and they got here and they said, "Oh, it's so green here," and so they named it Bowling Green.
Your ding-dong self believed it.
I did. I was like, "Oh, okay." And I don't know how long it took.
It
years.
was a considerable amount of time.
It was years later when I mentioned it. I think I said it to somebody, and you were like, Blair, honey, no, that's not really true. You didn't want me to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good times.
That was a good one. What about my favorite one for you?
Go ahead and tell it too.
So we were listening to a song on the radio. Now, mind you, the song that was on the radio, I had listened to whenever I was a teenager, and I had downloaded it illegally, right? LimeWire, BearShare,
Listen,
Napster.
we walked on LimeWire so these Gen Zs could run on Spotify.
Yes. Anyway, so when I had downloaded it, there was like this 5-second beep in the middle of the song. Didn't think anything about it. Well, years later, we're in the car and on the radio, and that version...
So they pirated
it. It plays, and there's this beep. And so I didn't say anything, but I heard it, and I was like, oh, yeah. And you said, what was that? And somehow, so quickly, I said, did you not know that that's how Colombian drug lords communicate about pickups and drop-offs of drugs through songs on the radio? And I, made up this whole thing, and you believed it. Hook, line, and sinker. You went with it.
Yeah. I'm so stupid.
Yeah.
So... this also translates to our kids. We've done this to our children.
Oh, no, the tooth fairy?
Yeah. So when our oldest was in first grade, she was a little delayed in losing her first tooth. When she was in first grade, her teacher calls us and was very concerned. And I was like, what's going on? And so she didn't believe that the tooth fairy was real because we had just pulled stuff over on her so many times. And so she was like, you're making this up.
There's no way this tiny little fairy comes into my room.
Right. I mean, the tooth fairy isn't real.
Right.
But I hope you know that if you're listening. But
oh, no, these children are listening. Anyway.
If you're a kid listening to this, please go find something better to do with your time. So the teacher calls. They were reading a book about the tooth fairy. And I guess Briley went up to her and went, oh, that's real? And so with little context, the teacher called and was very concerned. And so I had to tell her that I told my children lots of lies. So
we have done a lot. They think they're adopted. They don't really think they're adopted, but they think that there were two brothers.
Mm-hmm. That we let go live under a bridge.
That we put under a bridge. Freddie and Eddie, we had before we had them.
Yeah.
And
they were convinced for a minute it was true.
Put them under a bridge, but we didn't use it to threaten them to put them under a bridge. We were just driving under a bridge one day, and I said something. Hey, what about Freddie and Eddie?
Yeah.
And so
what's really good too is that when I come up with something out of nowhere, like if we're really in sync, you'll just go along with it.
Yeah.
And that's really nice. So.
This is lie lessons. I realize we're just big liars.
This is big.
big
this
lies.
whole thing's a sham. We're not even married.
Big lie lessons. Oh, man.
What was I going to say? It was going to be really funny.
Oh, that happened one time.
What?
So when I worked in HR, we did a benefit audit, and so you had to show proof of marriage. And I had a lady come in one time, and her marriage license was never actually turned in and gotten the seal and everything. And so she'd been married, or what she thought was married, to her husband for 28 years.
And they were living in sin the whole time?
It wasn't. They had a whole wedding and everything, but it wasn't registered with wherever they lived.
Wow.
And so they had to go and officially register it and officially be married after that many years.
That's hysterical.
Insane.
Wow.
Now I need to go check the seal on our marriage license.
It's good.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay. It's legit.
It's too legit to quit.
Or is that a lie?
Lie lessons. No, I'm 92.5% sure that.
Did they notarize it? Is it sealed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I know it has the seal from the Milton County.
Great state of Florida.
Or no, the not Milton. Milton is the city. What's the county? Why? What is wrong with me? What's the name of the county? Santa Rosa County.
Yeah. I was going with Escambia County, but that's Pensacola.
Next one over.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with love lessons, but
No.
bless
Anyway.
their hearts, they're still here.
Move on. Let's move on.
Okay.
So let's talk about something that every healthy relationship needs in order to make it.
Chocolate.
No. I mean, that could help, but no,
Okay.
it's another C word.
Carrots.
No, it's compromise.
What was that?
Compromise.
I'm not familiar with this word.
I know you're not.
Compromise?
You've probably never experienced it before, have you?
I don't know anything about this.
Well, let me show you a little bit. Let me teach you.
Okay.
Learn you something.
Learn me something good.
So when we look at the concept of compromise, it is a skill that every person needs in relationships to ensure that they are managing conflict in a healthy way.
Okay.
And so I'll have people come in and say, we don't know how to compromise. Because it's usually your way, my way. We go back and forth. We don't come to a middle-of-the-road agreement, something that we're both okay with, but that we have given a little bit on our side. So when we look at it, what is compromise? We have to kind of start at the basics. What is it? It's simply an invitation to collaborate to solve problems. So when we say, hey, let's compromise, we are inviting one another to come together to be on the same team to tackle solving whatever problem that we're having in our relationship at the time, whatever the issue is. It's nothing bigger than that.
Right.
However, we certainly make it bigger than that, don't we?
I think every person is born with the ability to compromise. It's just that in our own selfish nature, we don't want to, right?
Yeah, because we do that in a lot of areas of our life, right? So, I mean, think about like work and jobs that you get. You know, when you go into a job, did you want to work, 5 to 1:30 p.m., 5 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.? Maybe, maybe not. Did your employer say, here's what you're doing? And you said, okay, I want this job, so I'm going to compromise and work the schedule they give me. We do that. And I mean, what about your electricity bill? Do you want electricity, so you have to pay whatever there is for it? You're compromising by saying, I'm going to agree to this because I need this service, so I'm going to pay whatever this is.
Yeah. But compromise doesn't have to be a bad thing. And
No.
I think that's the problem, is that we always think that compromising means just giving the other person what they want, right? But what if we looked at it instead of from a negative perspective? What if we saw it as a positive thing, something to work toward?
So what if we looked at it as a way to show your spouse that you loved and you valued them?
Yeah. What a novel concept. We want our spouse to be loved and valued.
And we want to show them that we feel that way about them.
Yeah.
And vice versa. It's having mutual respect for one another, showing honor and love to one another by saying, I'm going to come to the table with you so that we can tackle this together. I'm going to hear your perspective, even if I don't agree. I'm going to honor and love the fact that you have that perspective and have that grace going into this situation, knowing that we're going to come to a decision because I love and honor you more than I desire to be right or to have my way.
Yeah. And compromise is something that, when done in the context of a healthy relationship, it means that both partners are pouring into the relationship because both partners are looking for solutions, right?
And this is really easy when we talk about marriages to do when you are doing really well in your relationship. You have a lot of love, but think of it in like, if you've divorced someone and you have children together and you have to co-parent, think about that. There's a lot of compromise that has to happen there. And so we're talking about it from the context of a relationship being married, but you can use these skills and should use these skills in all of your relationships because there will be times that come up that you are on separate pages, but you need to love and honor the relationship and that person and the other people it affects, like children, for example, more than you value being justified or right in your own way.
So why do you think compromise is so important in relationships?
Because you are going to have different perspectives and you still have to figure out how to move forward with different perspectives, different opinions, with a disagreement. You have to figure out how to do that. You might not be able to resolve what the conflict is about, but you can resolve how you handle the conflict going forward. And without compromise, you can't do that.
Yeah. You're just both trying to stand your ground and get things to go your way.
Or that's that big elephant in the room that we never talk about, or the thing we sweep under the rug because we haven't figured out how to address it, so we act like it's not here. And you, again, will eventually trip over those things. Those things will come back up, and you have to figure out how to handle those, or they're going to continue to cause conflict.
Have you ever tried to sweep an elephant under a rug?
No, I can't say that I have, but I do imagine that would be challenging.
Yeah. Kind of like living life without compromising. You see what I did there?
You tried. I saw what you tried to do.
Swing and a miss.
Or swing and a miss.
So let's talk about some healthy ways to compromise.
Yeah.
Maybe we agree not to make any stupid dad jokes on love lessons. That'd be a good start.
if I could get you to agree to that compromise,
I will never.
I know.
I will never.
We wouldn't have half the content for a show
I know.
if that happened. So, I know you're going to say you're welcome.
You just want to get into this list? Mm-hmm. Okay, you're welcome. So, bless my heart. Step 1, have a respectful discussion. What a novel concept.
Notice the word respectful.
Yeah. That doesn't mean being sarcastic or sitting there with your arms crossed or whatever. It means honestly seeking to find a solution, you know? And sometimes having a respectful discussion means going back and listening to some of our previous episodes about the pursuer and distancer cycle and marriage myths and all of those things. But seeking to find an understanding, seeking to honor your spouse, even in the middle of a disagreement, it can go a long way.
Yeah. This goes into the second one, but it's seeking to understand and not to respond or not to explain yourself.
Yeah.
If you will give your spouse the floor without jumping in or defending or explaining yourself, and knowing that, maybe you have a working agreement, rules of engagement, you will, whenever you have a conflict. You're going to get the floor for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to get the floor for 2 minutes. And we're not speaking just to respond. We're speaking to make ourselves understood and or to enhance the relationship and dissolve the conflict, if you will, or put it to an end. Then we're seeking to understand. And maybe instead of responding, we start asking why questions. Why do you feel that way? Why is that your perspective? So that we can try to because maybe we get a broader understanding. Maybe we still don't agree with their perspective, but we can see how they got there. So then that gives us the ability to love and respect that perspective and that person in that.
Yeah.
Seeking to understand and not just to respond and to defend ourselves.
And if that's something you've never done in your marriage, give it a try and see what kind of change you experience. It can be huge.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of just flows into our next step. It's like this thing was produced on purpose. Acknowledge each other's feelings. Make sure that the other person feels heard, even if you don't agree. There is such beauty in saying, like, I don't understand why you are the way that you are or why you feel the way that you do, but I can appreciate the fact that you feel strongly about it.
We have many of those in our relationship.
Yeah.
I can't think of any right now. Can you?
No. Are we even married?
Who even are we?
Who are you?
We'll try to come back to that if we have an example. But we are very good about saying, like, I don't understand that perspective.
Yeah.
But I respect and love the fact that you are a person who does have that. And I also know that when you say that to me, it's not
not condescending or anything.
No, not at all. It's actually I always feel respected when you do it, because you always say it in a way that's like, you're a very intelligent, smart human being, so if you have that perspective, I know it's valid to you. It validates in that moment, even though you don't agree with it, you're still validating that it's okay that I have that feeling or emotion.
I will say, though, I don't understand your particular kind of crazy, but I do appreciate and respect your total commitment to it.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You're so sweet.
That was just for you. If I'm not here for next week, everybody knows I've been buried in the backyard.
At this point, no one would be surprised based on the way you run your mouth.
I know. Wish I ran in general as much as I ran my mouth.
Yeah. I wonder what feelings I'm having right now that you need to acknowledge. So what's the compromise? You can make like 30% of the dad jokes, and I don't throw a chainsaw at you, or
I'm willing to take the risk on this one. After you, my dear.
The next
floor is
one
yours.
is be willing to give and to take.
Yes.
Keeping an open mind and being flexible is very key. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you are going into this with, I don't want to compromise, I want to get my way, then you are not going into it with the best motives when it comes to actually resolving the conflict.
It's not a good faith discussion.
It's not a good faith discussion. So you need to be flexible. You need to understand that you're working on solving the problem of the relationship, which, while it is your problem, it's the relationship's problem overall. And you and your spouse share this problem. And so it is not only your problem, meaning it is not only your way that should happen and or your solution, that the two of you have to collaborate together to figure out what that is. And that may mean that you have to be flexible and you have to give in some areas.
Yeah. This ain't Burger King.
You can't always have it your way.
Sorry about you.
And if that's what you're trying to do, then you're really going to struggle in this area and in parts of your marriage. And if you're not struggling in this area, then I would question why. If you think that you're not very compromising, that you're rigid and uncompromising, then I would say, why is my marriage so successful if I'm like this?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that you have a spouse who might be a saint?
You do.
He thinks he is.
This is saint lessons.
Or
More like ain't lessons.
ain't lessons. Is your spouse a saint, or does your spouse have some feelings of resentment and bitterness that they're covering up because they feel like they can't compromise with you because you always get your way?
Here's a fun exercise. If you have the cojones to do it, go ask your spouse if they think you compromise well. And tell them to answer honestly.
Yep.
Don't hold a knife in your hand while you say it.
I think you and I had that conversation when we were having this.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
I was surprised at how little you feel like I compromise.
Yeah.
But then we talked it through and we discovered that I do compromise a lot more than you were giving me credit for.
Sometimes.
That goes into the next part of this, is that the husband shouldn't just give up, right?
So here's I get irritated because you see this in like movies and TV shows, and it gets perpetuated on social media. Spouses are not doormats, and husbands many times are portrayed as these like bumbling idiots who don't know what's going on, right? And wives are sometimes portrayed as airheads that don't have a lick of sense either, and that's not fair either. I know some equally stupid people across both gender spectrums, but anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I've seen on Facebook like that meme that says, I didn't want a cat and my wife wanted a cat, so we compromised and got a cat, and everybody kind of laughed. But the truth is, if you are, just like the doting husband that's like, whatever she wants, just so that she doesn't run her mouth, that's not really being successful. That's building up resentment and creating division between the relationship.
Right.
And so if you're a husband, you hold the responsibility here to right this ship. It's not your wife's responsibility to turn this around. You've created the environment where the wife gets, quote unquote, what she wants all the time. You have some responsibility here to change the dynamic.
And that's going to take some time to do, because you have created an atmosphere where this is acceptable.
Yeah.
You have created your rules of engagement, if you will, and the rules of engagement are that your wife is going to get her way, or you're going to do whatever she wants. And so you can't just come in one day and throw the law down and say, we're not doing that anymore, when in reality...
How does one throw the law down?
No, throw the book down, lay down the law. That's what I meant.
You're mixing metaphors
I really
here.
am.
You're like marching one day. Listen here, woman. You're going to start doing what I say.
I'm throwing the law at you. She's like, what?
She fought the law and the law won.
The law won. But you really will run into challenges if you come in trying to lay down the law and
sometimes it just wants to take a nap.
Expect that things are going to go how you want them to. Immediately. Like, you are going to have conflicts because you're going to be creating some new habits, and so you've got to go into that charitably and gently, knowing that you've laid a foundation that has to be rebuilt.
Yeah. And so an easy way to start that is just to say, like, hey, listen, it from my perspective, it feels as though when we compromise that I don't get my way on anything. Be prepared, there's going to be rebuttal in that, because there always will be. But I feel this way, and I don't want to feel that way, so I would like for us to work together the next time something of conflict comes up. Don't bring it up in the middle of a fight,
right?
But mention it, and so that you guys, so that can be on their horizon, whether you're the husband or the wife in the situation. Yeah. So
next time, how can we come together to tackle the problem and solve it together, versus one person getting their way or not? Like, how can we really and truly come to a place where we're solving it together and we're both okay with what that compromise looks like? And
so that's really that kind of hits the next point, the nail on the head there. Discuss the pros and cons together, instead of just trying to justify your reasoning for being right and justify your decision that you want to make. How can we acknowledge the pros and cons of both sides?
Yeah. How can we look for solutions together?
Yeah.
Again, going into it with good faith.
Right. Stop being part of the problem. Be part of the solution.
The next one is making compromises lovingly out of good faith.
Yeah.
So same thing we've been talking about. See compromise as a loving gesture, not a punishment or a sacrifice. So work on not keeping score. Well, you got your way that last time, and now I want to get my. That's not the intent of compromise. We know that that's what happens at times, but really, so we're trying to make sure that we're doing so out of a place of good faith and gentleness and charity and love for the other person, not so much us wanting to be right or to get our way, if you will.
We've touched on this before, but if both spouses are always trying to show love and honor to the other person, if you're always trying to give more than you take and the other spouse does that too, imagine how differently a relationship can look, rather than just saying, shouting over here, I'm not getting what I want, how do I get, how do I give the other person more, how do I give to them more? And when both people do that, when both people, we may have mentioned this before too, but when people go into a relationship both thinking they got the better end of the deal, how could a relationship change?
Very true. Another thing that we need to do that I know from personal experience, but also professionally, that people can struggle with is appreciating your spouse, especially when they compromise. If it is something your spouse has agreed to a compromise on and it leans more towards, what you want and they're giving a little more, we can fall into habits of not appreciating that, especially if it's the same thing over and over again. So if it's how we parent and it's I want to do this and you want to do that, so we're just going to decide this compromise which is more in line with what I want, and that's something that you have to do daily. We might appreciate it when the compromise is made, but over time that will lose its luster and it will become more common, and so we forget that it really was a compromise and that we need to appreciate our spouse for the fact that we're still continuing to do something that they did not like as much, and or it's a compromise from whatever their values or morals or whatever it happened to be. So appreciating your spouse and the areas in which they do compromise, being mindful of that.
Yeah. And so you like to say that compromise is an equation. That sounds great, but I'm bad at math. What's that mean?
So if we look at getting our way as an equation, that is me plus me equals me. If we look at compromise as...
Which for me is a great equation.
Sure it is. Sweet little Zach.
It's my world. You're just living in it.
If we are looking at compromise as us coming together to work on a problem, that is me plus you equals solving the problem, if you will. So what I mean by that is I am one part of the equation. You are another part of the equation. And what it equals is how we're going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And so it takes the air out of this importance of me getting my way or my opinions or how I want to handle it being big when I realize that this equation is for our relationship and I am one factor of our relationship. While what I need and what I want is important, I still need to evaluate if that's what's healthy for the relationship and or a healthy thing in general that's needed, but if it's healthy for the compromise that needs to occur in this relationship.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different types of therapy out there. CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, is the most common one, but I actually take things most of the time from an approach of what's called solution-focused brief therapy or solution-focused therapy. And so what we're doing in those situations is that we know where we are, we know that we want to get to the solution, so we figure out what the solution is and then figure out the steps of how to get there, right? The compromise is really the same. We know that we want to get to a solution. We know that we're not there now, so we need to figure out A, B, C, and D to be able to get to that solution and to figure out what it truly is. And so most of the time, it's not so much, the compromise is not so much figuring out what the solution is, it's figuring out how we're going to come to that solution.
Correct. Yes.
And so, when we start thinking about it that way, you might be bad at math like me, but thinking of it from that perspective, it's one more tool to make the relationship more healthy.
Yeah.
So, and there are couples, who are very healthy, who I think look forward to opportunities like this because it's truly a collaborative effort where they get to work together.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe look at compromise from a different perspective, through a different lens.
It's not a dirty word.
Yeah. Now, with all of that being said, there are things that you should not compromise on.
Right.
That are hills that you should die on, if you will.
So the first one is things that go against your core values, right? If you are a Christian and there is something that your spouse is trying to get you to compromise on that is antithetical to the Christian faith and Christian doctrine, and from a place of good conscience and good faith you can't do, then you have to stand on that. Not because you're trying to be mean or because you're trying to be right, but because that's a core conviction for you, right? And so you have to stand up for that belief. And then second, I think, which is equally important, is that if your personal boundaries are being violated, and so that when we hear that, we automatically think of like body autonomy, right? Like I don't want to compromise on something sexual, which is true.
Yes.
But there are other things too. If there's something that's going to be emotionally hurtful or frustrating or is going to put you in a bad space that you know that you're not equipped to handle, then I don't believe that you compromise on that.
Now, with that being said, we have to evaluate our boundaries. Sometimes that causes us to have to reevaluate them. And so this assumes that you have placed boundaries. They're good boundaries and they're not bad boundaries meant to control or manipulate. But if you say, sorry, can't compromise, that's against my boundary, then I'm going to say, before you say that, you really need to evaluate what your boundaries are and how this goes against those.
Is this a cop-out for you?
Is this a cop-out, or is it an excuse so that you don't have to engage in problem solving?
Yeah.
Again, if there's any sort of abuse that is occurring, absolutely hard boundaries there, but don't use it as an excuse or a weapon to not come to the table.
Exactly.
This episode of the Love Lessons podcast is brought to you by Revive Counseling Center. Revive provides faith-based counseling services to help people find spiritual, emotional, and physical wellness. With multiple in-person locations, as well as convenient online counseling options, Revive Counseling Center has helped countless marriages and individuals find help and healing, allowing people to create fulfilling and thriving relationships, reviving hope and restoring lives. Learn more at revivecounseling.org.
So you said that you inferred that I don't compromise a lot and well in our relationship. So has there ever been a time that I have compromised in this relationship?
Not once.
Not one time?
One time that comes to mind.
Only once. Okay.
And what's unfortunate about it is that you were still right even after you compromised. And I will admit it here in front of everybody on Love Lessons that you were right. Okay?
Okay.
So I love animals. And we had an opportunity a few years ago opportunity is a strong word, to get a new dog. So a friend of ours was selling, they're a dog breeder, professional dog breeder, and they were selling what we thought were golden doodle.
Miniature golden
doodles on Facebook. So they had sold the entire litter and they had one dog left. And it was to the point, he was like 3 or 4 months old. It was like they were running out of time to sell him. Like nobody wants him at that point. They don't get the cute puppy stage or whatever. Posted him. I squalled and bawled and slung snot on the wall and begged and pleaded for us to get this dog. And, I did the whole like, Mom, I'll take him and walk him every day and I'll give him water and food and all these things. And so finally, you tried to throw me a bone and you said, fine, if they'll take him for like $200, mind you, these are like $2,000 dogs, then we can have him. You thought they were going to say no. But as it turns out, I said, would you take $200? And we knew these people. They knew that we weren't psychopaths and that we were a safe home. And so they said, sure, would love to give him to you for $200. And so you were like, crap. So I was all excited. I went to get him, and it became immediately clear as soon as he got to the house that homeboy was not a golden doodle, but a standard poodle.
Yes.
He was enormous. He continued to grow enormously. And 2, dude was like wound up, super anxious.
Yes, he was.
Huge separation anxiety.
Yeah.
So.
And he clung to you. You became his person.
Yes. He was like, I was like, not the mama. And he was like, yes, you are the mama. To the point I had to sleep in the living room for the first week on the couch while he slept in the crate beside me, and I would have to keep my hand on him or he would like freak out. And he had huge separation anxiety. We tried to put him in the crate because they say, dogs won't poop in their crate. They don't poop where they lay. And he did. And then he sat in it. And if you've ever tried to clean poodle hair, let alone poodle hair that has poop stuck in it, it's not a good time. Weird direction to go on Love Lessons. But anyway, so it's just bad. It's bad.
Yeah, he was a challenge.
That's a good word. And I've never really had a hard time training a dog. Like, I'm not like teaching him to jump through like hula hoops that are on fire or anything. But our dog Molly, like I taught her to sit and to stay and to like lay down and stuff pretty early on. And so anyway, Tucker was a challenge. So finally, I take him to the vet one day for a checkup, and I told the doctor, I was like, listen, like he's really having a hard time. Like, this is really rough. I think he might need some anxiety medication. And she was very opposed to giving him medication. And I understand, this was not a child I was trying to medicate for ADHD. Like, this dog clearly struggled with anxiety.
And the breed, if you've done any research, struggles with it too.
Yes. So this is not like new knowledge to anyone. So I'm like, hey, doc, something's got to give here. We're all losing our minds a little bit. And she was like, well, you could try this, and you could try this, and you could try this. And she was just not having it. She actually sent me home, and it didn't get any better. And so for a follow-up appointment, I went back. And I was like, all right, this is not working. Poor fella needs something. He's going to I'm afraid he's going to hurt himself. He's so torn up and stuff. And she was just not having it. And finally it got to the point where I never walk into a room and say, I am Dr. Zach Gammon, because I think it's douchey and pretentious. Mm-hmm. But I finally looked at her and I said, listen, with all due respect, I understand that you're a doctor. I'm also a doctor. And while you are you're the person who is most well equipped to treat an injury to a dog, I am most well equipped to treat anxiety. And if you don't give this dog medication, I'm leaving here and I'm going and getting on medication. And so begrudgingly she did, and it helped him to some degree, but he was still so wound up that we ended up actually having to get rid of him. And I've never gotten rid of an animal before. Yeah. I used to judge people who did that. Yep. And then I became one of them. And so and it was bad. Like, he tore everything up because he was so nervous and messed up. He's in a wonderful home now. People who love him. He's got
land to run around.
Yes, and he's great. Yeah. And they love him and they baby him and everything else. But it was not a good time. And you were right.
Can you say that again?
You were right.
I need a little louder.
You were right.
So
it's awful coming out of my mouth.
So tastes pretty bad, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was a compromise, and my life wasn't hunky dory through that time.
Oh, it
having
was the
to
worst.
live with him, and then you and him, and then the Molly and him.
We kind of fed on each other too. He and I fed on each other's anxiety.
You did, and then the poor children were so upset when we got rid of him because they loved him dearly.
Sure, we all did.
We did. I was very upset too because he was a sweet boy.
Yeah, he was great. He was the worst dog, but he was the best boy.
Yes, that's true.
So,
yeah. So, what areas in our life do you compromise?
This is really turning into another you were right. just tell everybody. Just tell everybody how you're the best. Go ahead.
So, I really enjoy home decor and design. And I'm by no means a professional. But I like the Hobby Lobby and the Kirklands and the At Home.
Oh, yeah.
And I love going on Pinterest. And I like keeping up with what the trends are doing. And some of them I don't like, but some of them I do.
Wood paneling.
No wood paneling.
Okay.
So.
Time out. You know what I really don't like, and I'm so thankful that we agree on?
What?
Shiplap. Shiplap is the wood paneling of our generation. This is a hill I'm going to die on.
I don't hate it nearly as much as you do.
Listen,
I just think it's overdone.
If you're listening and you have shiplap in your home, more power to you. If you're listening and you still have wood paneling from the 70s and 80s in your home, more power to you. All I'm saying is, I think that in 15 years, kids are going to walk through houses and be like, they have shiplap. I just think just because Joanna Gaines does it doesn't mean that you need to. That sermon was free. Please proceed with your story.
You just lost half of our listeners when you said that about Joanna Gaines, including me. I'm no longer listening to you. How dare you? Speak.
Is this shiplap lessons?
That's it. No, but I really do love design, and so when we were moving into our new house, I was wanting to update and freshen up a little bit, and I had some ideas, and I explained these ideas to you, and you were turned off completely.
They sounded like the worst.
So I was going for this neutral farmhouse type thing. And
which is interesting because you're not neutral about anything in life.
No, I have great opinions
about everything.
On many things. Yeah, there's not much I don't have an opinion on.
I have never once said to you, "Can I get your opinion on something?" that you haven't been up on your feet, ready to offer.
Yeah, So probably wanted to live in a neutral home because I needed a little bit of peace compared to what's going on in my brain all the time. It was like a neutral farmhouse with some French country things going on.
It's the most white girl thing I've ever heard.
And we did a little bit of renovation before we moved in, and so I was working with a contractor and I just had ideas, and you were like, no. And so you eventually did like give, and I was having to show you pictures online of like, here's what I'm going for. And you just were like, I don't think this house can do that. I don't like that. It's not. But you did say, okay, whatever, fine. And this might have been a time that you gave up instead of compromising. I'm not sure.
I just needed a nap. I didn't care anymore.
Well, okay. So we're not sure if this is actually an example of compromise, but
We might as well just scrap this whole episode.
it's all a lie. It's all been a lie.
This whole thing's a sham, I'm telling you. We're not even married in real life. We just met a few weeks ago when we started recording.
Oh, anyway, we renovated the house, and it was all said and done after it was all up and decorated, and you walked in and you were like, wow, this looks great. I totally see it now. Mm-hmm. And it's because it's not something that you have an eye for, but I did, and so then we compromised.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And so the newest
Whatever.
one that you just did to me, was it yesterday, the day before?
Something like that.
So I have been wanting to do like a bold, moody bedroom. And I really want to, we have like a black and like, it's called French gray bedroom set. It's really big and bold. It's like a French type theme. And so I really want to do like some hunter green, emerald green walls with like big black velvet curtains, like very moody, very romantic.
I feel moody just thinking about it.
And every time I bring it up, he about throws up. You're about ready to throw up. You that's a hill you want to die onto. And so I've not brought it back up because it's not just my bedroom, it's your bedroom too. And it's fine how it is.
It's amazing that you allow me to even sleep there.
I shake your hand. We say, good night, sir. We
Good
bid
night.
each other good night and we roll over. And so 2 days ago, you sent me a message and said, okay, I kind of like the green
Yes.
because you saw a video of somebody's bedroom with the dark green walls.
Yes.
And you saw,
And it looked nice.
and it looked nice.
Yes. So yet again, Blair was right.
It's not that I was right. It's just that you're compromising.
Yeah.
Have I ever done a design thing you did not like?
I don't think so. I didn't like the apples in the kitchen when we first got married, and
Okay,
all the
but-
red and stuff. That was a little much.
But that was like the primitive country thing that people were doing at
Yeah, I
the time.
didn't like it.
Okay. So I'll give you that one.
Okay.
But in recent history,
I don't really like these chair covers for the Love Lessons set.
okay,
I don't like any of this. This is awful.
is it? Well, the
No.
fact that you picked half of it out might be the reason why.
I was just trying to... So funny. I was just trying to find a reason to be contrarian, and you had to lob an insult. I hate it here.
But we have made some compromises in our... These two just happen to be times that I was right. Did you pick that for a reason?
No. You picked it.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm usually right.
Maybe it's because you're full of it.
That could be it too.
It's time for...
Dirty laundry.
Dirty
You want to jump in?
laundry. Let's do it.
Okay, so today's question says, my husband and I go to different churches because of our beliefs. It doesn't seem to bother him, but I feel very disconnected since we don't worship together. Should we be at the same church? Should I cave on my beliefs and go to church with him? What should I do here?
So this is this is kind of a two-pronged answer.
Okay.
So, at least in my perspective, if it's a difference of worship style, or like, you know, he goes to a contemporary church and you go to traditional, or vice versa, or if it's a situation where you know, he goes to that church because he really likes that they have a nice men's program, or whatever the case may be. If it's not a doctrinal issue that you disagree on,
If it's a preference, you
yes,
mean?
if it's a preference, thank you, then I don't see why there can't be some compromise there. That doesn't mean that you necessarily always have to go to the same church together, but that you can share in going to different services with each other. We have some great friends where the husband is Baptist and the wife is Catholic. And so he goes to the Baptist church service on Sunday mornings, and she goes to Mass on Sundays. But they always make it a point to go to each other's churches or parish, depending on what kind of events are going on around them. So if it's like, I don't know, like
midnight mass for church.
Like he'll go with that.
Christmas.
Or if it's some type of like outreach event that the Baptist church is doing, then she'll go to that. So there's no reason why you can't cooperate like that. Now, there are some people who believe, and it's okay if you disagree, but if you believe the biblical model of a marriage that the husband is to lead, then if it's not an issue of doctrine and it's an issue of preference, then should you follow your husband's leading and going to his church? I would leave that up to you, and you go talk to your local pastor about that. They know more about you than I do. But that's a conversation worth having. Now, that being said, if it is a doctrine issue, if it is an issue of their belief in salvation or the Trinity or the role of baptism, or maybe they believe in the gifts of the Spirit, the apostolic gifts, and you don't, that might be cause for having some separation in church services. If you believe that the other person is going to church and where they're going is teaching heresy, that is different.
Sure.
By the way, just because you disagree with something doesn't mean that it's heresy. It just means that there's a different view of doctrine there. If it's a secondary or a third tier issue, then I don't see as much. It's cyclical within the Christian community. There are doctrinal issues that come up, every decade or so. Right now, a big one on the internet that people argue about is predestination versus free will. And if you're a member of any like large scale Christian groups where they have these kind of discussions, it always comes up on Facebook. That to me is a secondary issue.
Right.
You can worship together and have different views on that. However, if you are married to someone who denies that Jesus is the Son of God, that is a primary issue in the Christian faith,
yes,
and that's where you find some difference. And so it's hard to know with this question, the nuance of the specifics. Right. But if you're struggling in this, I would suggest going and talk to your pastor. And if you have concerns, if it's a belief concern, go talk to your husband's pastor too, and understand the beliefs of the church, not in a derogatory way, but just help me to understand, to put my mind at ease. And at the end of the day, if it's a situation where neither of you feel that you need to leave your current church, which, by the way, if you do decide to leave your current church, or if your husband were to come with you, have a good conversation with the pastor and explain. You honor on your way in, you honor on your way out. Don't just up and stop going. But if it's a situation where you can't come together and regularly attend worship together, figure out a way that you can work together in that. Go back and forth with each other to different functions and events so that you do get to experience that time in communion with each other and with God.
Yeah. And just because you don't go to the same worship service, if that's not something you're able to do, does not mean that you can't study God's Word together and you can't worship together just at home, right?
Exactly. That doesn't replace time spent in the local church. But you can add that and do it together.
It can enhance your relationship with your spouse, but also your relationship with Christ. And you actually create what we call spiritual intimacy in those times. And so maybe you do a devotional together. You focus on the things that you do agree on and what you want to work on. Maybe you do a couple's devotion or get into a couple's Bible study, something that's going to be respectful of both of your beliefs if they're a little different, but is still growing you in that way. There are ways to grow outside of just the local church.
Well,
that shouldn't take over.
Right. And you and I are members of the same church, but we rarely actually get to worship at church together, right?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we sat together at church.
Right.
Yeah.
Serving in a pastoral role, I usually have 37 jobs and 2 hands on a Sunday morning. And so it's rare that you and I even sit beside each other. And
I'm always on baby duty. And so if baby's off schedule that day, then, we're watching from home or we're, being flexible. So
yeah. So it doesn't mean that we don't worship God together, right? It doesn't mean that everything is falling apart. We're just in a season right now where it's different, and that might be the case for this person who asked this question. Find a way that you can come together.
Yes.
It's all about considering those compromises again.
Yeah.
So be sure to submit us your dirty laundry questions. You can send them to us on our Facebook page or send us an email at hello@lovelessons.fm. And of course, if you want to remain anonymous, just say so. We'll be happy to do that for you.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Take care.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Love Lessons Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Christmas time is almost here, and boy, do we have a gift for you. We have stuff from the cutting room floor of Love Lessons. This is an episode that honestly, I can't promise you you're going to learn anything, but I do think you need to buckle up and grab your ticket because the Hot Mess Express is leaving the station. This is Love Lessons.
Real life. Real talk. Real relationships. Faith-based tips, tricks, and challenges to improve your marriage and change your life. It's the Love Lessons Podcast with your hosts, Christian counselors and marriage experts, Dr. Zach and Blair Gammon.
So is it really a Christmas gift for them, or is this literally the example of a bundle of switches?
You know, it is, we had a saying when the girls were little, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. And that's what this is. Mm-hmm. We're taking a Christmas break, and you know, a wise podcaster, not sure that's us, but a wise podcaster is someone who typically has extra content left over. And so over the last, what episode are we on now? Like 11 or 12? Over the last several episodes, we have different tidbits of stuff that never made it to the show.
Yep.
And some of it's interesting. Some of it might be educational. Some of it's pretty stupid. But we're kind of pulling back the curtain. It's a little bit of a Wizard of Oz situation here.
Yeah. You get like hors d'oeuvres,
That's it.
little bite sizes.
Are they heavy hors d'oeuvres or light hors d'oeuvres? And can you explain what the difference is? I'm not fancy enough when I get invited to something that says we'll have heavy hors d'oeuvres. I can't even spell hors d'oeuvres because
You want the hors d'oeuvres, don't you?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like every single letter in the word hors d'oeuvre or
You can't even say it now.
hors d'oeuvres, I think feels like it doesn't belong there.
If someone puts out cheese and crackers and calls it hors d'oeuvres, I'm like, listen, the redneck
That was poor folk food.
white trash in me is like, no, honey, that's dinner. That was dinner when the food stamps didn't hit yet. I'm just being real.
So welcome to Love Lessons.
I'm gonna learn you something, or maybe not.
This is a bit of a mess. So it's Christmas time.
Yeah.
And a common gift that people get this year are those DNA kits from like Ancestry and MyHeritage and 23andMe.
You got that a couple of years ago
I
as a
did,
present.
and I jumped into it like head first, and I had a great time with it.
Yeah,
So,
you were going deep.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I learned some stuff about
You're like,
myself.
babe, I'm 0.5%
Right.
North Pacific Outlander, or I don't think that's actually a thing.
No, isn't Pacific Outlander like a clothing brand?
But I'm not sure. I just threw a bunch of words that sounded right together.
I do have some Neanderthal in me, I learned.
But you wanted me to do something with that. You were like, babe, look, guess what? And I'm like, I don't even know what it is on a map. What do you want me to do with that? Cool. Like, thanks for passing those genes to our kids. Like, it's like bits of useless information.
Well, I found something on Twitter recently from someone who did one of these tests, and this did not happen to me. I didn't find any like long lost relatives. I didn't discover like I was secretly adopted or like kidnapped by like the Russian mafia or something. Is the mafia? Is that what they call it? The mob? That's what they are in Russia. Anyway,
Get it together.
well, it's what happens when you get kidnapped by the Russian mafia. So I found this tweet, and I want to share it with our Love Lessons family here. It says, my husband has been toiling away on Ancestry for years, and this morning I finally I can't get through it. I finally got to enjoy the fruits of his labor, an in-depth presentation with charts showing how we are first cousins.
Oof. So he knew this and didn't immediately be like, oh my gosh, guess what I found? Like, he took the time to process this information, to come up with more data, and to create a presentation.
I think maybe, I don't know that it necessarily happened. Okay, here's what I'm imagining. I'm imagining me doing this.
Okay.
I'm 2/3 of the way through the PowerPoint presentation that you don't care about when I realize that we're first cousins. That's the way that I see something like that going for me. I don't think there was this big elaborate conspiracy that he didn't tell his wife. I think he got through it and had like an oh crap moment and realized.
She's my sister.
Right. Like Joe Dirt situation going on here. That's not Love Lessons appropriate. I apologize, audience.
So
So what do you do with
Right.
that?
So that's my question. If you found out that you and I were first cousins.
I'm going to lose this no matter what I say, aren't I? Like, you are setting me up for failure.
No.
Right here.
I really want to know what you think.
Okay.
Because I know what I think.
So if you were on Ancestry.com or 23andMe and you are checking it out and you determine that we are first cousins, you're asking me what it is that I'm going to do with that information.
Right. Do we stay together? Do we stay married? Or do we, like, shake hands and go our separate ways?
A good day, sir.
Right? I'll see you at Christmas when the family gets together.
So,
Kind of the family reunion to hang out with my ex-wife.
I have questions, though. And I think this is where you're going to get me.
This is one of the rare times on Love Lessons this is not a setup. I genuinely want to know what you think.
If it's you and I, like if I found out today, then I would say we're together.
Right.
We already have children. We already have a home. Obviously, our children don't have any like inbred qualities. So like that's,
Are there any inbred qualities?
Well, I mean, I think that there are like medical things that happen if people of the same line procreate that those children can have. Our children don't have those. So I would say, like, and you're not so close. If you did not know this after this many years, your family's not so close that this is like information. It's not like your brother cousin is also your uncle cat or something. Like, it's not like we all knew this and we're hanging out doing holidays together as this dual relationship. Like, it was a type of thing. So you don't have like the family dysfunction system situation going on.
Right.
So I think we're too legit to quit at that point.
That was a very long explanation. Who are you trying to justify this to? Are you trying to justify this to people listening?
I'm trying to make it interesting, because if I said, no, we're together and left it at that, then that doesn't really sound like content.
Sure. I'm curious, because it felt like
I was processing externally.
Right.
I'm an external processor.
You had no idea this was coming before we sat down to record this.
I'm an external processor.
Right.
Just move on. What would you do? Now you've got me flustered. I cannot even answer a question correctly.
Yes. I'm just curious. Because I feel like there are people out there who might be hardcore judging you. But they're going to have to hardcore judge me too, because I'm in the same boat. Like, it's been 14 years.
Would they leave their spouse after 14 years and multiple children and houses and dogs and ministry and jobs and careers?
Right.
And
I guess we're all cousins, at some point anyway. So.
I mean, you're my brother in Christ. So
Right. Way to make it weird.
Now, if you were newly married, and then I guess you'd have to talk to God about that.
Yeah.
If you don't have children, if it was like some conspiracy that was covered up, like there are times I could see like, okay, like we might need to revisit this. But at some point, like the cows are already out of the barn.
Right.
Is that the right analogy?
I'm not sure.
It's the horses, isn't it?
I don't know where
The
you're
barn
going.
doors are open and all the animals are out in the barnyard. Why shut the barn now? Like, it's too late.
That's good.
Yeah.
Several years ago, it was probably back in the 90s, it was like on Ricky Lake or Sally Jesse Raphael or one of those.
Sally.
Back in the day, right? There were two different instances. I remember it was on one of these talk shows. It might have been Springer. Who knows? Anyway, the point is, there were two different instances. This couple had gotten married and they'd been married for like 2 or 3 years, and they discovered they were brother and sister.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know if they had any kids or not.
Like adoption type situation?
Yeah, that was kind of what I gathered.
Yeah.
Like they were somehow separated. Had no idea. They were in like their 30s, I think. First marriage for both of them, and they discovered they were brother and sister, and they decided to continue in their relationship. I feel like I remember them saying they were not going to have kids, just to make sure that they didn't pass any like harmful genes down or anything. And this was, again, it wasn't like 5 minutes into their marriage. They'd already established some history there. I don't know what I would do in that situation, because that feels real different than a cousin.
I feel like this is a great time to bring up that if you get one of these gifts for Christmas, you do a deep dive and you find out that you are related to your spouse, you can call us at Revive Counseling Center and we can assist you in processing this information.
We can't tell you what to do.
Absolutely not.
But we will help you process it.
This would be one of those situations. People come into therapy and they're like, I'm going to tell you something big. You're just not going to believe it.
Yeah. And you've already heard it 10
And
times
usually I've heard
that
it
week.
before, and I'm not shocked. This is one of those times that if they came in and said that, then I'd have to make sure my poker face was in play.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, oh, like this is real.
And not in a judgmental kind of way.
No,
Just like
bless
I can't
them.
believe that you're having to go through this.
It's like Santa Claus in the M&M commercial at Christmas time. They do exist. Yeah, it'd be like that.
I went Marshall Mathers M&M. I don't know why.
No, Zach.
I was like, is
No.
Santa rapping with
The red and the green M&Ms from
Yeah,
the
I
90s
don't
commercial.
know why I went there. It's been a long day. So here's one that is even more shocking than the brother and sister. It was on the same episode. The episode was like, I fell in love with my long lost whatever or something. I don't know. This guy and this woman get together, and the woman is significantly older. And
No.
oh, you know where this is going.
No.
And throughout the relationship, the young man reveals that he had been put up for adoption as a child.
No.
The woman reveals she had put up a son, and so they kind of bonded over this experience. And then, like 8 or 10 months into the relationship, discover that it's mother and son.
That's a hard stop right there.
Yeah, and they didn't hard stop.
They. No. That's a line you can't cross. So was that his mother wife?
I don't know that they could legally be married because
Depends
they
on the
weren't
birth
together. So
certificate.
they weren't married. So they I guess that's true. They weren't. She wasn't on the birth certificate, I guess. But so they weren't married yet. Like the brother and sister that found out, they were already married and had established like history in their marriage. These two were just dating and continued.
They should call a Revive Counseling Center if they need some help in that.
I don't know how to navigate that. I can't help you with that.
Well, it's a good thing I'm a better counselor than you
I guess
are.
so. Anyway, Love Lessons has taken a very weird turn today.
Yeah, well.
Welcome to the show. Mm-hmm. So this reminded me when I was throwing this together of another gift that people often get at Christmas time.
Okay.
The fancy little personal assistant robots.
You're going to say all the names and all of the robots in these people's houses.
I'm not going to say it,
Okay.
but there's one that's produced by Amazon.
Does her name start with an A?
It does.
Okay.
There's one that is produced by the largest search engine in the world.
Googly Oogly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feels like you're trying to talk pig Latin in front of the kids so they don't understand what you're saying.
I'm trying to make sure that
right.
I'm guessing the right
And then
ones.
is there any other one? Oh, I guess there's the one that's in your iPhone. Because she has HomePods. They're really expensive. I'm not at the level of wealth to have a house full of those.
Yeah.
So we've had the ones made by Amazon and the other one from the search engine.
Yeah.
You got to be careful about saying that because sometimes it'll just pop.
Bing,
It's not
isn't
Bing.
it? Oh, okay.
They got rid of Cortana. Cortana's dead. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, she gone.
It's Ask Jeeves.
They
isn't
killed
it?
her.
Ask Jeeves.
It's still around.
I don't know why, because people ain't asking him. They're asking Google. They're Googling questions. They're not asking
Right.
Jeeves.
They're not jeeving.
No.
So this reminded me of another situation because I feel like, I don't think I got it for a Christmas gift, but the very first introduction to home robotics, I think I got a free one because I bought something online. And so now, like fast forward, this was like 5 or 6 years ago, fast forward to today and our entire house is ran by robots. It's wonderful.
There's a lot of robots.
We're like the Jetsons. So
Yeah.
if you have a personal assistant that's made by what used to be the largest bookseller in the world, you should mute her now because I want to say her name a couple of times.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Amazon.com used to be the world's largest book retailer.
Oh, really?
That's how they got started.
I don't
They
know.
sold books. You were around when it started.
I didn't ask Jeeves that information. I don't know. Anyway, keep going.
Heavens to Betsy. Anyway, Alexa is her name.
Yeah.
So we have our house like Alexa'd out at this point. Like we have smart
It's
bulbs.
automated.
Everything is automated. Everything comes on at a certain time. Our security system arms itself at a certain time of
Don't
night.
tell people this because they're going to try to, like, hack into our house.
No, they won't. We're locked down like Fort Knox.
Okay.
You think I've done all this and haven't I have like routers connected to VPNs to block us
And then if the
China
security
doesn't
card,
even know where we are. The Russian mafia has no idea how to find me.
the security system goes off, and guns automatically pop out of the walls.
That's a bit obnoxious.
Oh.
I haven't installed those yet. But anyway, we have these things all over. It's connected to our lights. They turn on at a certain time, or we can tell her to turn them off. Alexa she turns on the Christmas trees this time of year for us. It's a beautiful thing. She knows to turn the outside lights on 30 minutes before sunset. Like she's real advanced, right? So we also have a robot vacuum, Roomba.
Yep.
And so Roomba, when he works the way he's supposed to, vacuums at a certain time every day. And so a few years ago, Amazon came out with a feature, if you had the security systems of the security package, where Alexa would listen for sounds in your house. If it heard something that was breaking and entering or whatever, and it would call the police for you. It was very nice. So like you can literally automate your security system now. You don't even have to like get an intruder alert. Alexa just handles it all for you. I really wish she would make dinner and wrap the presents, but we haven't got there yet.
Bud.
So Alexa one day sends me an alert. And it like pops up this big like warning thing on my phone. I'm at work, I'm trying to get stuff done. It pops up this big warning thing that says something like intruder sound detected. And it has a countdown of like 30 seconds that it's going to call the police. And so I'm having to like quickly look on my phone to try to look at the camera that's in the house to see who is breaking into my house or if I need to like cancel the alarm or whatnot. And so I look and I finally get it shut off before, the cops get called to the house. And it turns out that Roomba had started and it was vacuuming. And Alexa thought Roomba was an intruder. And so I almost had one of my robot assistants call the cops on another robot assistant.
They had a workplace conflict is what it sounds like.
Could you imagine having been an officer that showed up to the house?
My Alexa called the police on my Roomba.
Yeah.
Just complain about my vacuuming skills.
I would have loved to have seen a police report about that, though.
That might be one where they charge you because they came out, they were dispatched because it was so
Yeah.
preposterous.
Yeah.
Thank goodness you caught that.
It was obnoxious. So we disabled that feature so that Roomba can vacuum in peace and the cops aren't getting called. But it's funny because this happened several years ago when I really cared. And at some point in the last, maybe COVID just messed everything up for me. But now I no longer have patience to even set up technology. And so I upgraded iPhones several weeks ago, and out of necessity, not out of want to, because the battery was dying on it. And I'm convinced there's a conspiracy with Apple that when a new iPhone is
They're going to
released.
censor us now.
Well, you can find us on YouTube. I'm convinced there's a conspiracy. When the new iPhone comes out, suddenly everybody's older iPhones start having trouble, right? Your batteries now started to struggle. And so I had to go get this thing because I started getting this battery warning, like my phone was going to explode or something. So I had to order a new phone, and there was this whole back and forth with our phone carrier about I could get it for free, but I had to jump through all these hoops, and it was a mess. And so I finally got it, and I got it out of the box. And mind you, I went from iPhone to iPhone. It's not like I had some kind of major transformation in devices, and I could not figure out how to make it not be so loud. To the point that I almost went to Best Buy. And I finally did talk to AppleCare online, and they were like, "Hi, how can I help you?" And I was like, "My phone's too loud."
Oh, you did it.
Did. And she was like, "Have you tried turning down the volume?" Yes, that was my first step. And so I was like, "Listen, lady, I've done research. I've Googled this. I've tried to figure out how to fix this. I don't know why it's so loud, but every time I turn it down and something happens, I get a ding. It's like a missile is shooting from North Korea. It is so loud. Please make it stop." And I was like, I think I'm becoming a boomer.
That's how the transition starts.
I was so angry over the technology.
And so not only did it not work, you were angry about it.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, the difference was I was not blaming the technology. I recognized that it was probably something that I was doing wrong. I didn't yell at the customer service associate.
Okay.
And I didn't show up 10 minutes before the store opened, banging on the doors demanding to be let inside because I'm so entitled because I'm 70 plus years old.
It's okay. That comes later.
Oh,
it's okay. It's a transition period.
It's a weird life I live.
So just FYI, in case anybody gets you any automated home technology.
It's going to make me angry.
I'm not buying you anything for Christmas. You are getting a lump of coal. That's what and you have to do more podcast work. That's your Christmas
Great.
present. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You want to talk about a fun fact?
Do you have anything fun?
Oh, it's fun. I intentionally didn't put this on our shared little rundown here. I have a gift.
No.
It's a gift for our Love Lessons listeners.
Okay.
Okay. So 2 weeks ago, we aired an episode where we kind of talked about our history, right? And how we met and all of those things, right? And we shared that you and I had a class together.
No, you are not. This is not a present. This is a punishment.
It's a great present for me. For those of you who didn't listen to our episode a couple weeks ago, you should go listen. Specifically about when Blair and I met in the 8th grade. Do you want to remind folks where we met?
We met in Miss York's 8th grade journalism class.
We did.
Where Zach was the editor of the middle school newspaper, his shining glory of his life.
That's not true. I was also editor of the high school paper.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
I moved up.
Yeah. And I got placed into that class and was told to write articles with no history, experience, education, and I was 13 years old.
Correct.
And the only thing I was ever told was to use more voice. And so all I did was use voice.
What does that even mean?
Like
how does
expressive and like conversational in your writing.
So Blair's article made the front page in the newspaper.
I'm ashamed right now.
I'm gonna kick
you. I'm gonna kick you in the throat later if I can get my leg that high. It is on.
This is what's so great. Somehow, after 20 plus years, this is still preserved on the internet, and I can go find it.
Just get on with it.
Okay.
Rip the Band-Aid off. I'm in pain.
Our principal retired at the end of our 8th grade year.
Miss Price.
Miss Price. Darlene Price. Lovely lady. And
Lord rest her soul.
She's still alive.
I have no idea.
I mean, I assume she was in her early 50s when she retired.
I just made that up. Keep going. I don't want her dead, but just...
Wow. Miss Price, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. I'm also sorry you're about to have to relive this. So Blair wrote an article about Miss Price retiring, and it was front page news.
It was. That was your fault.
And it was, I didn't have much to work with. We're all in 8th grade. So I'm going to be able to read the entire article because of its brevity here. It's hard-hitting middle school journalism.
Okay.
Okay. The headline of the article is Miss Price retires. It was... You did set the headline up correctly, to be fair, because you're supposed to use you're supposed to use a verb in a headline. So it's always supposed to be active. So as you already know, our principal, Miss Price, plans on retiring after the school year. The newspaper had a few questions to ask her.
This is where it gets sketch.
We asked her how long she's been in the teaching profession, and her answer, 27 years. It's hard-hitting stuff right here. We asked if she had only taught in our county, but she said she taught in various other states. She had several job titles over the years, and what did she like best? Principal. This was the article of exclamation points. Mm-hmm. We also asked what she plans to do after retirement. She plans to continue working and spend a lot of time with her family. We asked her if she had anything to say to the new principal that's coming in effective July 1st. She said, "Congratulations, you'll do a great job. I'm sure the faculty, staff, and students will miss Mrs. Price also." 4 exclamation points. That was glorious.
There was nothing fun about that.
Okay, to be fair to you, though, I did go looking for some of my own stuff. Okay. So I went to the attic. I ran to the house before we came to record this to see if I could find the actual hard copies, and I can't, but I do have a picture, so I'll share this on Facebook and YouTube. If you listen to the podcast, go on over to Facebook or YouTube and watch the video of this. You can also see how red Blair's face is. Okay. So way back in the day, sometime probably 2004 or 2005-ish, I guess, the school newspaper, when I was an editor, ran an article, and it was actually a serious topic. There had been several school shootings across the country that kind of happened, within a few weeks apart. And so we, in local news, you try to localize these things, right? You were looking at me like you were going to murder me.
I have so many emotions about you right now, but go ahead.
So at any rate, we decided to localize this article and make it relevant to our local audience, which was a group of high schoolers that frankly didn't care. Mm-hmm. And so what your article lacked, mine made up for in dramatics and theatrics.
No one is surprised by this.
So my headline was, "Nationwide School Shootings Raise Questions About School Security." Nobody in our high school was reading that.
Or raising questions.
No, there were no questions raised beside my own. And it was so dramatic and theatrical. I actually remember I got kicked out of our principal's office because I went in there demanding answers. It was kind of like, was it A Few Good Men that Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson were in? Was that the right movie? I think the right one. He walks into the courtroom and he was like, "I want the truth," and he's like, "You can't handle the truth." Yeah, that was. I walked in like demanding to know.
14-year-old Zach walked in.
I walked into Greg Dunn's office and I'm like, "I want to know what we're doing about school security." He was like, "Who are you?"
You freshman? Right. What are you doing?
I think I was a sophomore.
You need a swirly at this point.
The principal himself is going to give me one just because he doesn't want to deal with me. And it's funny. This wasn't even my article. I just assisted one of the staff writers with doing it.
That's even worse.
I know. And so we ended up there. After that, we ended up actually getting censored because some of our stuff we just got really annoying to the administration. And so they told us if we didn't calm down that they were going to start proofing every single paper before it went out to make sure that we weren't being idiots.
That sounds like a smart adult decision that they were making.
Yeah. Now, at the time, I was like, freedom of the press. We were minors.
Were you like going to throw the tea into the bay and riot and, create your own Declaration of Independence from the school or...
Right. What's funny, though, actually, now that we're talking about this, I do remember a few years later, beyond high school, when I actually worked at a real TV station doing, real work that I got paid for to do news. And I actually did go back to our high school and talk to, he was the assistant principal when I was there, but then he was the principal when I interviewed him, about things that they were doing for security upgrades. So maybe it all worked out in the end.
It came full circle. Mm-hmm. Little Zach walks so big Zach could run.
That's it.
Is the hit.
That's it. And little Blair wrote about Miss Price retiring.
We're going to have to talk about this offline. Off pod, if you will.
So there we have it.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't fun, but okay.
So I have a question.
Can you just put me out of my misery at this point?
Do you want to share the other thing that you published in our 8th grade paper?
What is that, puppy love?
Mm-hmm.
You're not. I was just sitting here thinking, thank God that he didn't pull out puppy love, because that was worse. You owe me so big right now.
Do you want to share with our friends?
You can share. I can't get through it.
Do you want to read it? You can read it if you want to. You sure? Okay.
No.
Okay.
But I need you all to understand that I had just went through my very first serious relationship, or was in the middle of it. I was having a lot of big emotions. There were a lot of hormones, and I was not getting validated in these emotions at home. And people were acting like I was being dramatic, because I was. But I was just not getting the validation that I needed.
All we have to say is you were 13 years old.
Yes.
And everybody gets it.
On with it.
Okay. Actually, you were 12. You weren't even 13 yet.
I mean, dang.
What I will say about this is that you wrote this in the way that you talk.
Yes.
And you still talk this way.
Yes.
This is Blair.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. So have you ever been in love? If you have, then you know how it feels. This is how it felt. Heart pounding, sweating, and stomach aches. Or not. Some people are afraid to get hurt, so they don't take the risk and put their heart on the line. Is it worth putting your heart on the line? I mean, those who do put their heart out there usually get hurt, and those who never put their heart out there don't know how it feels. Did you send this to Fall Out Boy? Because I feel like this was in some of their lyrics. Is it worth doing? Some teens claim that they're in love, but they're really not. Parents often tell us that we don't know what love is or that it won't last, but how do they actually know? They call it puppy love, but don't we have the exact same feelings as they do? No, you don't, children. I bet you could ask your parents if they had any relationships throughout their teenage years and what they felt, and they would just smile and go off into their own little world. No, they wouldn't. That's weird. So if you worry about love, then don't. It's part of your teenage years. Like they say, it's better to have loved than never loved at all. Which is not the right... No. Loved and lost. That's what you were looking for there, 12-year-old Blair. I feel like this was a precursor to you becoming a marriage counselor.
All I have to say is that you were the editor and you let both of those articles fly.
So editor is a strong word.
I think this is your responsibility.
I think that Miss York placed all of these. Me given the job of editor was probably just because I was such a brown-noser.
And you wonder why our children are dramatic. Like,
between the two of us,
it's published, yeah. Dang. This really was a Christmas present, wasn't it?
For them.
And I'm taking back every gift that you've been given or that you've been bought for. You get nothing. No soup for you.
Thank you for letting me walk down memory lane.
You're welcome. I'm never going to recover from this. There's nothing sexier than watching you do something that you're good at.
Which is everything. Especially my humility.
It's like a cold bucket of water right there, right over me. No, but a client was talking about this, and she was talking, her and her husband work in close proximity to each other. And so she was talking about how, you know, when she hears him talking shop, that she just is like admires that. And it's so attractive to her. Because it's something that she cannot do, and it's something that she admires about him. So when you do those things, I can understand that. I see it. Yeah.
Just appreciating like the gifts and the talents that God's given the other person.
And that's your person.
Yeah.
So what do you like that I do?
So this is just fishing for compliments.
No, but if we're going there, then you might as well return the favor.
You have this way of looking at business and like business law and stuff that has like a lot of complexities and a lot of different facets to it and like making complete sense. I read it and I might as well be like reading like Aramaic and like, you know, original Bible language because I don't understand any of it. And you're like, well, you have to do this and you've got to put this here and you've got to go this way, you know, to keep you from being sued or to, you know, because this is an ethical business practice. And to me, it's just like totally over my head. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about it, I'm like, oh, wow, that's like,
I was an attorney in another life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's actually what I wanted to do when I was a kid.
And now you're a counselor / podcast host.
I know. I remember I was in fifth grade. I think you're right. I was in the 5th grade, and they had us get a picture from home. They had us create ourselves out of construction paper, and our shirt had to do like we had to open it up like that.
That sounds weird.
It's not working. Okay, I'm not doing well. We had to make our like a little person of construction paper, but we had to do like a flip open to where you like opened up your heart and you got to see, and it was like on your shirt area. And so when you opened up my little shirt area, there was a little picture of me that I had taped there, and then it was like, "Hi, I'm Blair. I'm in the 5th grade, and I want to be an attorney when I grow up, and I want to go to Austin Peay State University." And like this whole life planned out,
mapped out for you.
I sure did. Didn't do a bit of it, but I was decided that's what I was going to do.
So what's it like living with somebody so perfect?
I wouldn't know.
Why? I'm amazing.
I didn't say you weren't amazing, but I don't necessarily agree that you're perfect.
There's a song that tells me I'm perfect in all of my ways.
No, it's talking about God. It's not talking about you. Yeah.
Do you know what song it is? Can you remember?
You're a good, good father.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Okay, so I guess if I'm not perfect, then I have to admit that you're also not perfect.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that one. No, I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes here, Zach.
Do you think that other people have things that their spouse does that drives them crazy?
In ways that they're not perfect? 100%. There are ways that I drive myself crazy, and so of course there's ways that another person's going to drive me crazy. So I know other people feel
I'm going
this
to
way.
share some of the things that you do that drive me crazy.
Oh, you have a list?
Oh, I have a list.
Are you airing our dirty laundry here, if you will?
Number one. I don't know if you were raised by savages. Actually, I do know. If maybe they raised you in a barn. But why do you not know how to use a tube of toothpaste the right way?
I don't think this is like a savage thing. I think this is a preference thing. And you just don't like my preference.
You grab it by the middle and just squeeze. You squeeze it from the bottom of the tube. It is a mess. I can't tell you how many times I have to clean up toothpaste mess. Yes, I know you have to clean up my messes. This is not about me. This is about you.
I'll squeeze from the bottom whenever it starts getting low, but I'll squeeze from the middle until we...
Why? Why must you ruin perfectly good toothpaste? You waste a lot of it. It gets everywhere. It is messy. It is a pain in the butt trying to get it back down in the little fancy cutesy little cup that it sits in with the toothbrushes.
Okay, that's valid. Yeah.
Can we talk about the betrayal you felt? What was like a year or so ago when you realized that I have a hidden tube of toothpaste? When you start being all savagey in your toothpaste using?
I felt like our marriage was over when you told me that. I really you what?
For over a decade, I've had a hidden tube of toothpaste.
It's like the lies. They just keep stacking up here.
Our marriage is built on a lie as long as a toothpaste tube.
You're supposed to share a lot of things in marriage.
I tried when we first got married, and you used it like a savage.
I don't even know how you have a hidden one. Because I'm the one that does all the shopping.
I know. It's a miracle.
You go to the store by yourself.
I have.
And buy your own tube of toothpaste.
For the sole purpose of buying my own toothpaste that you're not going to mess up. Yes, I absolutely
And then you've hidden it somewhere in a bathroom that I clean that I don't know.
You can't reach everything, Shorty.
This is true. But now I know.
Is it still there?
I'm too tired to find out.
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Well, while we're at it, I would love to throw down some things that you do that drive me crazy.
Okay.
You wear nasal strips to sleep, do you not?
I do.
And they're the clear, extra strength, extra type.
There's a lot of nostrils that we pull apart here in a very narrow nose.
And I will wake up and find these things sticking. You don't just wake up and, oh, what a wonderful night's sleep, and take off your nose strip and throw it away like a normal person. It's like you had the most chaotic night ever. There's no tail. It's like pinning the tail on the donkey.
The nose strip.
Except it's the nose strip, and it's usually on me. I woke up one day and found it on my butt. It was stuck to my butt. I don't know. I was wearing pants, and it was inside of my pants. Of course, on the sheets and on the pillowcase, and then the adhesive gets on there, and I found them on the bottom of my shoe or my slipper when I'm walking through the house, on the rug, and then of course you like to the one day the dog, and then you also like to stick them to the table, like the bedside table,
so
and
it sticks there so I don't lose it. I'll come back.
You're not going to reuse them.
No, I can come back and get it later.
You're never going to. I always do that.
That's fair.
Your nose strips are everywhere. It's like the epitome of my hair being everywhere.
Yeah, except you've never woken up with a nose strip in your butt crack, and I have had hair in my butt crack.
You're right.
Is that appropriate to talk about on the podcast?
That you have a butt crack?
That your hair gets stuck in it?
I'm sure that this is a thing that other people experience.
I know it is.
Yeah.
It's just we're trying to be couth. Are we trying to be couth?
No,
oh, okay.
We threw that out the window a long time ago.
So everybody has a butt crack.
So if you will back up off of my toothpaste using and remember that...
I have a deviated septum.
Oh, so you have a medical condition.
Yes.
Which causes... Okay.
I need the nose strip to be able to breathe.
Sure, use the nose strip, but discard it in an appropriate way.
I feel like maybe you're overreacting.
It's like you had a fight with the plastic factory, the plastic sticky factory, and they won because they're everywhere. I have to go and hunt them down every day so they don't take over my home.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. It's like they're little gnomes that grow.
Oh, now I'm going to look at them and think they're gnomes. I wonder if they have any red and green ones for Christmas, because that would be festive.
Let's talk about this. Woman.
What?
This is one of those things that don't matter. Like, I could see how, like, nose strips could send somebody over the edge in toothpaste. This one doesn't matter, but it drives me crazy.
Okay.
You have access to unlimited technology. I'm a huge nerd. If you want something, I'll make it happen. I could build you a server in the basement if we had a basement. I don't know what it would store on the server, but that's not the point. Maybe episodes of Love Lessons. Anyway, you like to read books. And you like to read Kindle books or electronic books.
Yeah.
But you do it on your phone.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching you. You will be like sitting on the couch and you'll be like squinting with your phone super close to your face trying to read what it says. And I'm like, woman, you own an iPad. We have at least 3 in this house. One of which I know at least belongs solely to you.
I'm not sure what the problem is here. I don't want all of those things.
But you got the phone like two. You're already going blind and you refuse to wear glasses, Granny. Why do you hold the phone so close to your face? Why are you making life...
I didn't know this is what we were doing today.
Why do you have to make life more difficult than it is? It's already hard enough. Everything's on fire. My hair's on fire. The hair on my butt crack's on fire. Everything is on fire. And you refuse to use an iPad.
Here's what I want to know. Why do you feel like you have to fix me?
Because I'm codependent. Okay. Codependency is also on fire.
I'm going to keep using my phone. I don't need... to make sure everything's charged. Like, I just need the responsibility of one device.
But you're
like my
you're
watch
hurting.
when I had my watch.
You're hurting. I know you don't even use your Apple Watch, but you like have it like 4 inches from your face, and you're like squinting at it, all funny, and you're like,
I don't feel like I'm doing that.
okay, well, feelings aren't facts. I watch you. At least wear your glasses.
And
Can we agree that you will wear your
they're
glasses?
not reading glasses. The fact
They are prescription glasses that can help you read. What is wrong with you?
Okay, never had a comprehension problem.
You're about to comprehend something. What if we get you some?
Me the way I am.
Why can't we get you some reading glasses then, so that you can wear?
Because I don't need them for reading.
But you do, because you're squinting with your phone 4 inches from your face.
I don't think I'm squinting, and it's not 4 inches from my face. You can increase the font size on your phone. I will do that. I will increase the font size on my phone when I'm reading books, if that would make you feel better.
I'm trying to protect your eyesight.
You're trying to fix me, and I don't need to be fixed.
Yes, you do.
We're doing just fine over here.
So many things wrong with you.
I'm doing just fine over here.
There are so many issues that I have with you.
Okay, well, I feel like we need to move on a little bit.
Do we?
Mm-hmm. Because when you get in the car to go somewhere, when we get in the car collectively, because I don't know how you do it by yourself.
I do just fine.
Lord help you. You couldn't get us there if you tried.
What do you mean? You get in and drive.
And you don't plan how you're going to get there. You don't map it out. You just start driving and you're like,
what
direction do I need to be going in? We could be going east and you're needing to go west and you're like, how do I get west?
I'll find out eventually.
Like, the lack of preparation and planning makes me want to throat punch you.
Do you know that I don't have any of these problems when you're not in the vehicle?
And it takes you 3 times as long to get anywhere.
That's not true. Always.
I think you're like Rose from the Golden Girls.
Okay.
When it comes to your driving. Like, what's going on?
I am directionally
You have
challenged.
already talked about how you dropped a trailer in the middle of the street.
Well, we're going to bring that up again.
So, your driving's already been called into question.
Okay. Wait. Driving and dropping a trailer are 2 very different things.
I don't think so. I think it's all in the same vein.
Okay. Well, I think somebody not knowing how to use a toothpaste and not knowing how to use multiple devices and being incapable of juggling multiple ones is the same thing, but here we are.
I just think it would be better if you need me around to give you directions. And then when I do give
me directions whether I want them or not.
And then I do give you directions. And then you get frustrated with me that I've given you directions. But if I didn't, then we wouldn't get there. Like, I couldn't win if I tried.
So, has it ever thought to your, thought ever occurred to you?
No, it hasn't.
Maybe my husband's right and I should just be quiet.
That thought has never occurred to me.
I know.
If you were right, then it might, but you're not. So
Really? You just yesterday, I think you said I was right about something.
if you could tell me what it is, then I might agree with that.
I don't remember now.
See?
I have a question. For somebody.
Why do you always start these things without a question?
Because I have questions.
No, it's this backhanded way of asking a rhetorical question.
No, there's nothing rhetorical about it. You know how.
That's another thing you do. No, I have a question. Do you know how?
You know how when a beaver comes up to a body of water and they see it flowing?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm getting there. Let me get there.
I've never seen a beaver before in my life.
Really?
What
You live in the country. You've lived in the country. You live in a rural area.
Are beavers in Kentucky?
Yes, beavers are in Kentucky. What is wrong with you? Anyway, that's not the point. You know how when a beaver comes up to a body of water?
Why are you asking
This sounds
me
like a bad
questions? I already
joke.
know the
3
answer
beavers
to
walk
it.
into a bar.
Okay, go ahead.
You know how when a beaver comes up to a body of flowing water?
Sure.
And they see it and they think somebody's got to put a stop to this. Absolutely not. And so they build a dam. As an aside, do you think they know what they're doing when they're building a dam? Or do animal instincts just kick in?
You're where you're
Okay,
going.
So here's where I'm going with this.
Clever joke. Go ahead. Move on.
Okay, well, it was clever until you were a jerk face. When beavers see a body of water flowing, they think absolutely not. Why do you have that same response when a notification pops up on your phone?
Oh, wait. Okay,
If you're like in the middle of like scrolling through Facebook and somebody texts you, you will take that sucker, you just go, like start swiping it as fast as you can, like your life depends on it.
aggressively.
Yes. Like what is it that,
It's
what is
interrupted
so
me.
offensive about,
It's interrupted me.
you could be reading something at the bottom of the page, but if somebody texts you, you gotta like, it's like, how dare someone disturb the queen during her tea time?
Okay, so I know you don't understand this because
I
of
let
your
the notifications
struggles
pile
with
up.
ADHD.
Yeah.
But
I have notifications from last month still on my
I know, and that's who you are as a person. But I, as a
normal
person,
Thank you.
like to clear those things out. But also, if it pops up and I'm in the middle of something and I don't get rid of it, then it's going to distract me and I'm going to not finish what I'm doing.
And yet I'm the one with ADHD.
Right, so I'm getting rid of the distraction so I can continue on my path.
Those of us who are normal can just operate and say, "Oh, so and so texted me." Do you?
No,
do
you don't do that because you stop immediately and go and text them back and then forget what you're
That's
doing.
not true.
It's true. That's what I'm saying is I am
Okay,
able to
baby,
stay
you're
on
right.
my path.
Okay, wait.
ADHD.
Wait. Do you do that to me when I text you?
No.
Because unless I'm in the middle of like CPR, I will almost always stop. Okay, if I'm in the middle of an important meeting and I don't want to be disrespectful to the other person, that's fair. But there are very few times that I won't stop what I'm doing and respond to your message.
Yeah, if you text me something, I always will respond.
Yeah, that's not
Most
true.
of the
That's
time,
most
it's
of the time you
if somebody texts me and I don't have to respond. They're just telling me something. I'm like, okay, got it, and move on. But I am bad about that. I'll read somebody's text message and forget to respond to them, probably because I've gotten rid of the notification.
The truth comes out.
Yeah. So if I owe you a text message, you need to text me and tell me I owe you a text message because I've forgotten.
Now, I will say, when it comes to work, a lot of times I'm really bad at responding to messages because now we have so many different ways that we communicate. So, like, we have our group chat for the church, for church leadership. We have Google Chat that we use for Revive, for our stuff there. We have text message, we have email. And so I'm really bad about, like, forgetting to respond to a message because there are so many options of how to message.
See how many issues we've created with automation?
See how many issues
If you
you've
have
created by
one
swiping
device
notifications.
to communicate and or read on, these things would be so much
Yeah, and if
easier.
you would use it, you know what? Adjust your text, you angry little notification beaver, and
I'm not a beaver.
we'll
The only beaver in Kentucky. Blair the beaver.
something's wrong with you.
I just want to know how you got there. That was a leap that you took. Hope you stretched.
A beaver sees a body of flowing water and they think absolutely not, just like you think when you see a
Okay,
notification.
but what I want to know is if I'm a beaver, then you're a squirrel
Oh, absolutely, I am. I have no qualms about that.
because you like stuff
I do.
and you like to put piles
might
of stuff
actually
in
be a
different
rat.
places. They eat through it.
Oh, I'm a pack rat.
Oh, okay.
I teed that up for you 2 different times, and you totally just... You're supposed to be a professional.
I'm going to be professional about what I do next. I'm going to tell everybody to close their eyes and their ears.
Close your eyes.
That's as nice
Close
as
your
I
ears.
can be.
Everyone look away.
For 10 seconds. And then if Zach's not here anymore, don't ask any questions.
Don't ask any questions if there's blood.
You like to leave little piles,
I do.
we'll call them Zach glitters,
Okay.
of everywhere you go. And I'm constantly going behind you trying to clean your piles or at least organize them so that
Yes.
they are like not chaotic.
I have no disagreements here. This is 100% truth.
And that drives me insane.
Yeah.
So our bar, an island in the kitchen.
Our bar? We're going to need one after this is over. What is this? Lafayette, Tennessee in 1997? It's an island. Blair, have some class.
It's elevated. It has a bar on the top. It's an island with a bar on the top of it.
You brought a baby into a bar.
Is that a martini?
We quote, this is an aside, we
Yeah.
quote Sweet Home Alabama to each other on an obnoxious basis.
Yeah. Yes, we do, Bobby Ray.
There are there are rumblings. There have been for a few years now, so who knows if it's true or not. But there are rumblings that they're talking about doing a sequel to that movie.
That'd be great.
But they said that Jake Perry's character wouldn't be in it. She would have already left him. And I'm like, well, if that's the point, then she might as well go back.
She
Get back with
can't
Patrick.
leave him.
Right. We have to, in our minds, be convinced they are still living
Forever.
in, where was it? In Greenville, Alabama? Not Greenbow, Alabama, because that's Forrest Gump. Mm-hmm. But in our minds, life is great down there.
Yeah, she can't leave him.
Yeah. She wants to kiss him anytime she wants.
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Zach piles everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. On my bar, specifically in my kitchen. And I'm going behind and I'm
Sometimes there are
straightening up.
multiple piles on the
Yes.
island. It's not a bar. On the island.
I
Or
want to
they're
burn it.
piled.
I want to put it all in a pile in the front yard and I want to set it on fire and I want to do a dance around it. But if I did that, A, the neighbors would think I was crazy and they would commit me. And B, you would just put a new pile or 2 or 6 up there the next day. And so it would be a
I'd
fruitless
probably
effort.
make a pile in that burn pit that she had made.
Right.
I don't think our neighbors like us.
Why? I mean, we don't go out and say hi to them, so we're not the
super
friendliest.
friendly neighbors. Not
We're
on
not
purpose.
unfriendly. We're just not involved in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I have too much going on to care.
I mean,
Like, I'll
we'll
say
wave
hi
at
to
them
a
and say
couple of
hi,
folks.
yeah.
There are a couple of folks that'll walk
Yeah.
by because we have mother and son that live on our street, and we're kind of
We're
between.
Facebook friends with some of them.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
unfriendly.
I did hear recently in the last couple of months that someone who knows someone that we know was commenting about how those people are never outside and they just must be the most unfriendly people in Owensboro. And I'm like, actually, I don't
We're just coming and going all the time.
I don't have any room for new relationships at this point. in
Yeah,
my
I
life.
cannot. I don't have the capacity.
I'm too busy making piles, and Blair is too busy being an angry beaver, swiping notifications away. Here's another one
The
that
shade that was thrown.
just came up just in the last 30 minutes. Actually, I have 2 more. The list just continues to grow. We can go on and on.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, why do you so violently, when we go somewhere to eat, that there's a straw in a wrapper, why do you so violently have to get it out of the wrapper? Like you beat it on the table to the point that the straw breaks. I had to drink out of a cup for lunch with a broken straw while nursing a broken heart from your violent savagery.
That's the only way to get it out of the wrapper.
No, it's not. There's a whole little paper down the side of the straw wrapper. You just rip it and the whole thing comes
I think
off.
that's how it works. It's never worked that way for me, at least.
You've never tried.
Yes.
Just like you've never tried to use a Kindle like a normal person.
Okay, so I will say when I do open a straw and I don't bang it, I do just open it from the top and that doesn't work. And then I'm trying to, so maybe I do need to try the side.
Which flows into
situation.
my second complaint.
Okay.
Do you know where I'm going?
I don't.
When you don't know how to work something,
Oh,
you just start pushing buttons.
I do.
And it infuriates me
That's true.
to no end.
Yeah.
You will get into one of our vehicles
Yeah.
and you're like, I need the air conditioner. And sometime between the, I need the air conditioner and to the point, which is, a very short span of time that you decide you're going to turn on the air conditioner, you get like enraged hot and you just start pushing stuff, and before I know it, like, you're blasting Ricky Martin, and like you've got the heat cranked up and the defroster's on.
I'm living La Vida Loca.
Yeah, it's driving me loca.
Pulling my head out the window to get some air.
So this past summer we went to the mountains, and we were getting ready to leave. We'd eaten lunch. We were getting ready to leave, and you had the baby was getting fussy, needed his diaper change or something, and so you and the girls went out to the truck. I stayed behind and waited for the server to come out so I could pay and stuff. And I come out there, baby screaming. One of the girls are crying. You are like, your face is red. And I get in and I'm like, what is going on in here? You've got the heat on full blast and everyone's unhappy.
It was Jude.
I had even like remote started the truck for you so that it would be cooling off, but it wasn't cool enough because you weren't patient when you walked from the restaurant to the truck. And I was like, what is happening out here? And you had like pushed all kinds of buttons. You were convinced that if you started the truck that you could get the air to work better. It just needed to cool off for a second.
Yeah.
You turned the truck off and on because it was push button like 3 or 4 times, and like the heat was blasting, and I was like, what is that? And you were like, I'm so hot, and I'm like, just leave it alone.
A like floor length like maxi dress on.
Yeah.
Except by this point I had like gathered it up and it was like a mini skirt.
You were like girding your loins at this point.
Here, I accept that. That is fact. That I have no patience and I don't know how to work any sort of technology.
And you've done that multiple times, whether it's vehicles or computers or...
It's like, do you want to accept these cookies? I'll eat all of them, yes. Like, no problem. And before you know it, you're really full.
Bless your heart. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you'd like to complain about me? I got many complaints about you.
No, I think...
I feel better.
I think... I don't. I think I want extensions.
Yeah, you say that about once a year.
There's these things called Halo extensions.
Okay. Tell me about the Halo extensions.
They were like $70 on Amazon.
Sure.
You can. They're
How
real.
does that calculate with girl math? Oh, you'll come up with an equation.
Well, when you consider the fact that real extensions cost, like good ones, like $300 to $400 minimum, plus the expense of having your hairdresser sew them in for you, and then the maintenance that it takes to deal with them and have them unsewn and resewn back in.
These are basically free.
They are like 1/10 of the cost.
Okay, so great value brand.
So we said 90%. No, they're not great. They're the Halo ones they're on Amazon. They're real hair.
They're Family Dollar.
No, they're not.
Save a lot instead of Kroger.
No, they're not.
Tell me about your hair extensions.
I just did.
What are they? What's the difference? What makes them special? How do you put them in? Do you take them out?
So you can put them in yourself. It's called a halo, and there's a wire. So it's like...
How many times in this conversation are you going to say halo?
Can we stop now?
Keep going. I'm sorry.
So it's a halo.
This never ends.
So it's hair that's on a wire in a circle. So the back is where the hair is at, and the front is the wire. And so you part your hair, you pull it like halfway up or so around the crown, and you put it so that the wire comes right here, and then your hair goes around it. So you never see the wire. It's like tucked into your hair. Not. But then it gives you, so you have to color match, but you know, you can get them dyed if you need to.
Obviously.
Whatever. And then you can go to your hairdresser and have them cut them into your hair so that they blend really well, but you can take them in and out. And you can take them out and you can wash them and you can actually curl them or straighten them or do whatever.
Because it's real hair.
Because it's real hair. And then or you can do it on your head, whichever you want, but you could do either. But you just pop them in and it gives you fuller and it gives you...
Why do you want extensions?
Because I'm a girl, and so when I have long hair, I want short hair, and when I have short hair, I want long hair, and so this is the compromise, the best of both worlds.
So would you get your hair cut really short so you could go back and forth?
No, I'd probably stay where I'm at. I might get it a little shorter, but I would stay where I'm at. But I want like long ones, like middle or like lower back, like long, luscious ones.
This is the least interesting conversation I've probably had in weeks.
Well, then why did you have it? Were you supporting me? Is that what it was? You should ask a lot of questions for somebody who was not engaged.
I was trying to make you feel supported. but I don't care.
Okay, well, let's move on.
So I have a question.
Okay. Here we go.
Why don't you love me?
I do love you.
Okay, well, it doesn't feel that way.
Why?
Let me share with our friends what you've done. This has been a long-standing disagreement.
It's been
A year or 2 years?
It's been over a year.
Okay. And you still don't love me. It's amazing. So,
Heavens.
we were watching this show. You were watching the show. I was catching bits and pieces of it. It's one of those that I didn't want to admit that I was getting into, but then I would never sit down with you and watch it, but I'd like stand in the living room in my underwear with one sock on.
Yes.
No strip hanging halfway off. And there's a visual for you. You're welcome. And so I won't give a whole lot of details because I don't want to give the show away. So at any rate, it was a comedic take on a soap opera where they were making fun of how obnoxious soap operas are in this TV show, right? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Okay. So the main character had a love interest who died. And sometime later, seasons or years later, he comes back into her life, but he shows up on her doorstep. But she had already moved on. She already was married, had children, and moved on. But this guy who died was like the love of her life, like the moon and the stars, you are everything to me. I'm not complete without you. There's probably some codependency in there. That's not the point. They needed counseling. Anyway, so he's gone. She's devastated, but eventually she moves on. And if I died, I would want you to move on. Find somebody who makes you happy. But he doesn't die. He comes back. It was amnesia or something stupid because it's television. Okay? And I was offended on his behalf because this person who was the love of her life, she didn't just immediately run back to. And I shared this offense with you. And you took her side.
Not quite. Okay, so this actually started longer ago because I read a book with a similar plot.
Oh, yes, it did. Thank you for bringing back bad memories.
I'd shared that with you. And we had our first disagreement about the matter. And then the second time it happened, it was like, oh, no, here we go again. So all I'm saying is that in both of these situations, the female who their first spouse had passed, had died, went through an entire grieving process, went through years of grieving, and then was getting back on their feet and then got into a new relationship.
Good for them. Happy for them. I want you to be happy.
And then the first husband shows back up again.
Right.
I'd never said...
No.
No. I never ever said she should not be with the first husband. All I said is, wouldn't that be hard? Wouldn't that be a challenge to have to pick? And you immediately were like, if I'm not the first one, then you've never loved me. I'm like, no. I would still probably pick the first one. But you have to recognize that that's such a challenging situation.
There would be no question to me. If you died and came back from the dead, I don't care who she is. She gone. Okay? She can go find new housing somewhere. She can go live out in the backyard as far as I'm concerned and become a swamp witch.
So, if you married her?
If I died, would you ever find anyone that you love as deeply and as passionately and all of those things as me?
I sit here and I say no.
And that's where you should stop.
And I never would want to. And I don't ever think that I would. But I also know that I might love them too. And again, this does not mean that I'm going to choose them over you if you were to come back from
There should not be any... you shouldn't have to decide.
What if I was your second wife? How much you love me right now and your first wife came back?
I wouldn't love you that much right now.
Because you only love your first wife?
No, because you are my person. And if something ever happened to you, then if I were to ever get remarried, and I probably would. I mean, we're in our 30s now.
You would, absolutely would.
Because I'm such a catch?
Yes.
Or because I'm so codependent, I need somebody else?
Because you have a large capacity to love, and you need to share that with others.
I would probably get remarried, as I would want you to get remarried. I don't want you to spend your life lonely and like all that. However, don't go with somebody in our friend group. Like, If he's sitting there at my funeral and he's like rubbing your back saying he would want you to be happy, no, he wouldn't. Just shut your mouth. Anyway, that's an aside. But I know that I could never love someone in the same way that I love you. And they would know that. Not in a, like, you're never going to be good enough, I'm always going to be comparing. But to some degree, like, it honestly, I'd probably marry for money the second time around because I've already had love. Like, why not be rich and enjoy it?
Mm-hmm. I think you should marry someone who's also a widower.
Yes,
so they understand.
There's value in that. Yeah. So don't get me wrong. This sounds. I never want to sound insensitive to folks who have gone through the loss of a spouse and who have remarried. There are people who have wonderful marriages after their first spouse has passed, and I say all this in jest, but I would never want anyone to think that we're discrediting the experience that someone has that's truly gone through that heartbreak. But if you always tell me that I'm the love of your life and you don't know how you would make it without me.
I don't.
And I'm glad that you, in this, fictitious world that I've made up in my head, that you have a second husband who's taking care of you and who cares for you.
You made all that up.
But you better kick his sorry butt to the curb because he ain't going to be as good as me. This should not be a question. You should not have to think.
I'm not.
Yeah, you're not thinking. That's the problem.
No. I never said I wouldn't. I never said I had to think about it. All I said that you took offense to was that, wouldn't that be a challenging situation?
And it would not be challenging, at least for me, because I actually love you.
God. I feel like I'm not alone here. I feel like this would be challenging for other people too.
All I know is, if you love me as much as you say you love me, why are you having to question who you're going to be with? Love of your life or sloppy seconds? Okay? Kick Joe to the curb. Sloppy Joe. Get him out of the house.
Joe, I love you.
Then why are you having to sit and think, wow, that would be a real challenge? Get rid of his butt.
I'm not even putting myself in those shoes. I'm thinking, wow, a person has to make that decision. What a challenge. There's a lot of emotions. They've already grieved. They've already went through all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
And then now it's coming back up again, and it's like conflicting.
But he's not dead.
He was, and she thought he was emotionally, and she dealt with it in that way.
Not.
And then she's going to have to deal with that too.
You want to know what's real offensive to me? They didn't end up together.
Yeah.
Actually, I was rooting for the other person anyway. I never liked
in the show and in the book. They never ended up with the first person. Their original
what I'm
stuff.
hearing is when I die and come back, you're not going to pick me. I'm not even going to bother coming back at that point.
If you come back from the dead and you don't come back for me, I'm going to be so pissed at you.
Oh, so it's okay for me to come back, but you're not going to pick me.
I didn't say I wasn't going to pick you. I never said I wasn't going to pick you.
You have implied. I have inferred.
Oh, you inferred wrong. I'm just saying that it would be challenging, but I'm telling you right now, if you come back and you don't come for me, I'm going to come for you.
Oh, you're going to kill me with a knife again.
Chainsaw and a knife at the same time. You're going to wish you stayed dead.
Anyway, this is Love Lessons. Mm-hmm. This is NPR. Our love note today is a simple reminder that Christmas was never meant to be a burden. There is a lot of crazy things going on this time of year. You're trying to buy gifts, you're trying to coordinate schedules, you're trying to get to 14 different family get-togethers, and all while trying to make sure that everybody's happy. And if you are the planner and the organizer in your family, it brings with it a lot of stress and sometimes a lot of heartache. If you compound that with trauma that some people experience around this time of year from either losing a loved one or growing up in a bad family situation, it can just bring a lot of hurt and heartache to you. And so please let this be a gentle reminder that this season is about remembering Christ coming to earth, God taking upon flesh and dwelling among us so that he could live a perfect and sinless life, that he could die and receive the wrath of what we should have received as punishment so that we can live in eternity worshiping him. You know, we have this gift and this sign in our living room at home that says the magic of Christmas is not found in the presents, but in the gift of his presence. And so in the middle of the hecticness and the frustrations and the challenges, it's my hope and prayer that you seek His presence this holiday season.
Well, I've got to go now. I have to go regulate my emotions.
How come? Did something bad happen?
I'm feeling some type of way about you.
Why?
I'm not feeling puppy love, if you want to know.
Are you feeling puppy rage?
I'm feeling no love at this point.
Well, again, it was a gift for the audience, not for you. Mm-hmm. This is the season of giving, Blair. It's giving season.
It's giving something.
Please,
It's giving something.
Please don't give me an early death.
I'm taking back all of your presents.
Dang it.
Mm-hmm. You get nothing.
Not even coal.
Nope.
Did you see that thing going around on Facebook that said, hey, if you're also getting coal for Christmas, let's link up and we can start a fire up the grill or something?
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
No, you're not allowed to do that.
Dang it.
You can't hang out with any friends either.
Am I grounded?
You're grounded.
Can I go to my room?
Nope.
Where do I have to go?
You have to go to the kitchen.
Dang it. I don't like any of this.
Dishes and dinner.
All right, guys. Well, it's been nice knowing you. Mm-hmm. Blair's going to go get that knife again. Mm-hmm. And I'll be lucky if I ever see you.
If this episode makes it to air, you're alive. Because you have to produce it and edit it. So if you're hearing this, Zach is okay. Zach is okay.
We are taking off for Christmas. Yeah. So there will be no episode next week. Just let the joy of this episode burn in your hearts until we return. This is stupid. We're leaving. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Love Lessons Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.